Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you all had an amazing and productive week. I, Gourvi Kumari, is going to be your host for today. As we all know, Humans of Pharma by Pharma State Academy is focusing on different pharma stories which are based on pharma career, one's pharma journey, current affairs, and book discussions. Today, we bring you a collection of pharma stories, experiences, and perspectives that are just waiting to be shared. Anyone interested in learning about the pharma ecosystem, what it was like in the past, and what the future may hold, must watch this. This is the third episode of the Pharma Journey Series, Direct Dil Se, where we'll be having a heart-to-heart discussion with a pharma leader. Those who have missed the earlier one, do watch that. Now, in this particular episode, we learn about the journey of someone who has been a part of building some amazing pharma brands through the course of history and is now selflessly sharing his pharma knowledge with everyone. Without further ado, I would like to extend my warm welcome to Vivek Hattangadi sir. Vivek sir is from Ahmedabad. He has been associated with the pharma industry for over 48 years now. He's experienced both in sales management and brand management, headed the sales and marketing teams of two Indian MNCs, Intus and Torrent Pharmaceuticals. Previously, he has also worked with Sun Pharma as a senior brand manager, product manager, and sales manager. His corporate experience is of 30 years, and as an independent pharma sales and brand trainer and mentor for 18 years. He is associated with B schools as a guest faculty. Vivek sir has 7 books in pharma management, and we can expect many more in the near future. Thank you, sir, for being a part of Humans of Pharma.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's get this conversation started. Okay. Here we are going to know more about Vivek sir through a series of questions, starting with the first one. The audience and I would love to know, sir, about your childhood and family.
Oh my God. You're taking me down the memory lane. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, and I stayed in the suburb of mine in the midst of the city. My schooling was in St. Michael's High School. I studied in Bhavan's College, where I graduated in chemistry. And right from the childhood, my dream was to be in the armed forces. And I made a lot of efforts to build up my stamina. I still remember Shivaji Park was close by, and Shivaji Park is one of the biggest open maidans in Mumbai, and probably a periphery of around maybe over 2 kilometers. And every morning, I used to run around this periphery 3 times to build up my stamina. And I'm really an outdoor man, and I thought, yes, I was made for the defense forces.
Okay, sir, we'll be moving on to that next question. People who follow you know what an amazing journey that you've had. But for those who don't, can you please share what made you choose the pharma profession and further about your career progression?
First of all, I did not choose it. I would rather say I am an accidental professional, an accidental professional. As I said a little earlier, my dream was to join the defense forces. And in fact, I even cleared the ND exams way back in 1966. And that was the year when the India Pakistan war had just ended. And I was in great spirits. Yes, I want to join the armed forces. But unfortunately, I was the only son of my family. I had a sister, of course, but the only son of the family. And there was great resentment, not from my father. My father was very keen, but from my mother. She cajoled me, she requested me, she blackmailed me also. And finally, I relented and I decided to pursue my studies in science in Bhavan's College. But my heart was never in studies. And I became a sort of, what you call as a rebel child. I studied just for the sake of studying, just to make my parents happy. And in fact, I even failed in inter-science. And inter-science is one of the most crucial years in college in those days. And it took me 5 years to graduate instead of the normal 4 years.
That was such an
Finally,
interesting story.
and finally, I graduated, got my BSc degree, and great marks. I was really happy, 36.5%. And happy because I could, chalo, ho to gaya, pass to ho gaya. But then came the next question. With such a brilliant academic record, who will give me a job? I struggled. And finally, I landed up a job as a cycle rickshaw salesman for a pharmaceutical company's distributor, India distributor, who were the uh, distributors for Warner Hindustan. World over, it is known as Warner Lambert, and today it's a part of Pfizer. At that time, they had introduced a product, a cough drops, just like wig drops. They had introduced halls, and my job was to stack the packets of halls in the box of the cycle rickshaw, move along with this rickshaw driver, and we used to cover around 12 to 15 kilometers every day selling my wares. It included pharmacists, and then also included, in Bombay, you have what you call as pan bidi where they sell pan and cigarettes. They were also my customers because in Bombay they were allowed to keep. Then it also included kirana stores or grocery stores. So these were my customers. I used to walk about 12 to 15 kilometers every day along with that poor rickshaw driver, cycle rickshaw driver. And one day, by good fortune, I was calling on a leading medical shop in Bandra area of Mumbai. Bandra is supposed to be a posh area, and Bandra Chemist and Druggist was one of the leading retailers over there. And he said, "Okay, give me one bag of horse." But then I persuaded him why he should keep three and not one, and finally agreed for three. And before I was leaving, I could see a gentleman who was watching me. And as soon as I finished the call and booked the order, I was about to leave. Came, uh, I want to speak to you for a couple of minutes. Can we talk? I'll finish my call with this person and then I'll come out. I waited for him. And then we went to a local Irani chai shop. And then he said, I am a so and so from Chagul Company, Hind Pharmaceuticals Limited. It is a small pharma. It was a small pharmaceutical company which doesn't even exist now. And he said that, would you like to join us as a medical representative? Then I said, but I think I've not introduced myself properly to you. I'm a science graduate, but with just 36.5% marks. And who will give me a job as a medical representative? He said, don't worry. I have seen you in action. I've seen you in action. But only thing he said, the vacancy is not in Mumbai. The vacancy is not in Mumbai. Are you ready to move outside Mumbai? I said, even if you give me Guwahati, I'm ready to go. The next day,
So,
he sent me for an interview with the National Sales Manager, Mr. NDH Kamath. I was selected. And after training, I went to Bhopal. And there began my journey in the pharmaceutical industry way back in 1973. And it's continuing even today, although in a different role. But I'll tell you, Gourvi, at heart, I'm still a medical representative. At heart, I'm still that medical salesman or medical representative.
Yes,
And
so
that's why I said I'm an accidental pharma professional.
yes, so as they say, destiny plays its part. Like if it's meant to be for you, it will be.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yes, so
Maybe God had planned it long back.
maybe. Yes, so okay, so this leads us to our next question, uh, which is how was your life back in the early days of being a pharma professional? And what did Vivek sir's days look like back in the day?
I'll tell you the story after I joined Carter-Wallace. Because after I joined Carter-Wallace, that is the time when my actual journey began. It was a up and coming multinational, and we had a number of top products, and one of them was Divol. Divol was an antacid. I was pitted against two big competitors of those days. One was Daikin of Boots, which today is being handled by Abbott, and the second was Gelusil of Warner Hindustan, which is now a part of Pfizer. And fighting these giants was a tough task. And it was really a warfare between these three brands. One day I called up my mother and said, I, you did not allow me to join the army, but I am fighting a battle now. I'm fighting a battle against my competitors. Half my dreams have been fulfilled. Coming back, the salary at that time was just 350 rupees and a daily allowance of, I think, about 8 rupees or so. And I was used to Bombay life. Bombay had one big advantage: public transport was superb, and even today it is superb. Unlike Ahmedabad, there was hardly any public transport worth the name. Local buses were irregular. And I felt like buying a scooter or a motorcycle, but I didn't have that kind of finances at that time. So I used to hire a bicycle and work on bicycle. But one solace, hearing the name of Carter-Wallace, the kind of reception which the doctors used to give, mind-boggling. Even in those days, medical representatives commanded a great respect. The kind of training we had, we really commanded a great respect. So this is how my early life was. When about a few months later, I think it was about a month, about almost a year later, I got my first incentive of 2,500 rupees. I took a loan of over 1,000 rupees from Bank of Baroda, where I had my salary account. 3,500, I could purchase a second-hand Lambretta. And that Lambretta was with me for more than 12 years.
Right, so things must have been pretty difficult back then. But
Yeah,
smart work is
yeah.
the key.
I was much comfortable after getting that Lambretta. But when I was driving a cycle for the first year, it was horrible. Because in Ahmedabad, the temperatures used to go, even in those days, around 40, 41 degrees. Of course, I enjoyed the winters.
Right, so
Life was tough. Life was really tough, but only fortune, the kind of respect which the profession had in those days, that is missing today.
right, so now I'm really curious to know what in your memory is that one case that you handled as a product or brand manager that you are absolutely proud of?
Oh my God. Uh, I had a number of successful brands. I also had a number of flop brands. And amongst the successful brands which I recall is Prodep. It was a product of Sun Pharma. I was then the product manager in Sun Pharma. I transited from sales to brand management. In fact, in Wallace, Carter-Wallace, I rose to the position of sales manager West. I was looking after the entire western part of the region. But my passion was always for brand management. And when I got an opportunity, I stepped down one rung of the hierarchy lower, joined Sun Pharma as a product manager. And that gave me a lot of internal satisfaction. And the product which I still remember is product. Product which contained fluoxetine. It was a antidepressant of a different class. In those days, antidepressants were exclusively prescribed by psychiatrists. The other specialties like the cardiologists or the dermatologists, they hardly knew what is depression or what antidepressants are. They confined themselves to cardiology medicines or gastroenterology medicines or diabetic medicines. Product was not the first brand of a fluoxetine to be launched. I think it was the fourth or fifth. And we had already some giants marketing fluoxetine. One of them was Torrent Pharma, the second was Cadila, the third was USVP. And Sun Pharma was just a startup at that time, a little more than a startup. And it was a big challenge to promote and build a brand like Prodep in this melee. Facing giants was a big problem. And I was wondering what to do. I sat with the medical team. The medical team gave me a few, but I was not satisfied. Fortunately, while traveling one day, I happened to meet a Ayurvedic doctor. We were traveling to Chennai, and he was sitting next to me. We got introduced to each other. Okay, you are in the pharma industry. I'm a Ayurvedic doctor. But one thing about pharma which I never liked, the one thing which about the allopathic doctors which I don't like, they treat only the disease, they don't treat the mind. Disease always starts with the mind. And if you have a healthy mind, you have a healthy body. This is the principle in which Ayurveda, in this way, this is the way in which Ayurveda therapy system works. That set off my new thinking on how to promote product. It really triggered off my thoughts. And now I wanted to promote it in a different way. As I said a little earlier, antidepressants were promoted and used only by the psychiatrists, and the other specialties like cardiology, diabetology, gastroenterology, they hardly knew what is depression or what are antidepressants. I did a little bit of research also and found that many of these diseases have mental problems. When I say mental, it's mainly depression and anxiety as the root cause. And there were a number of reports which said that if depression and anxiety are treated along with the main disease, the prognosis of the main disease is faster. Actually, the other specialties did not know anything about depression or antidepressant. Let me repeat that again. And it was a big challenge for us. How can we educate the doctors? In those days in Sun Pharma, we did not recruit high level people. We had Bachelor of Arts, we had Bachelor of Commerces, and sometimes even diploma in the pharmacy as our medical representatives. And for them to go and tell the doctor what is depression, that was a difficult task. And I thought and thought and thought, and suddenly a thought came to my mind. Why not promote it in a different way by using caricatures instead of the normal literature. I immediately contacted my designer and asked him to find out the good caricaturist. And immediately next day, he gave me the name of Vasant Harbe, a good caricaturist. And he, in those days, was doing the caricature work of the children's magazine Tinkle. Probably you would have heard of Gauri. Probably when you were a little child, you would have heard of Shikari Sambu. That was his creation. And I was very happy. Then I went and explained to him what is depression, what is anxiety, what is diabetes. It was a challenging task for me. And then I told him I want caricatures in such a way that the doctors do not feel that of people are coming and teaching them. I first prepared the copy and gave it to him. In fact, I had to translate that copy into Marathi also. And the copy said, these are the various facets of depression. And depression, is something very funny. Some people lose weight, some people gain weight. Some people sleep long, some are not able to sleep well. So some people have weight, body aches, and pains. So I explained all these things. And then he came out with, he took about 3 to 4 days. Then he called me again and said, I have prepared something. Can you come and see? Both me and my designer went, and the results were fantastic. I'll show this a little later, and I would like this to be projected after this talk is over, before we proceed to the next question. We talked about all the facets of depression, and when the boys were detailing, it never gave an impression that they were teaching the doctors, although they were actually educating the doctors. And the doctor said, okay, this is what anti depression is all about. And this is what antidepressants can do. Mind well, we promote it as a co therapy along with the main drug. We do not promote it as a primary therapy. We told the doctors for better prognosis of the main disease, this is a good co therapy. It will treat depression. And when you treat depression, when you manage depression, the main disease, the prognosis will be fast. The doctors accepted it, and product went on to be a big hit. It's not that we did not promote it to the psychiatrists. We also promoted it to the psychiatrists. But 80% of our resources, 80% of our efforts were on the non-psychiatrists. And I can proudly say today, I was responsible for telling the other categories of doctor what depression is and what antidepressants are, which they never knew earlier. That is my small contribution to the pharma industry. So this is how the brand was launched. So little later, we can see the actual visuals which were prepared.
So that was a very interesting story. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, all of us do talk about our successes, but it takes real guts to talk about our failures. So would you like to share any story of a failure or a missed opportunity that you regret?
Again, that also is a product from Sun Pharma. It is Kitasma. As the name itself is suggestive, Kitasma for asthma. It contained ketotifen. But unlike the other drugs which treated and managed asthma, kitasma or rather ketotifen was for the prevention of asthmatic attacks and was not useful as an therapy when asthma has already set in. This was a totally new concept, and therefore I decided to have a very highly technical literature. How can you prevent asthma in uh, children? How can you prevent asthma in adults? And I completely lost track that during that time, CIPLA, the leaders in respiratory diseases, they were also promoting inhalers. Inhalers had just been introduced, they had not been very popular, but CIPLA was very aggressive. I completely lost track of that. And a combination of these two things, a bad literature which was not only not accepted by the doctors, it was not even accepted by the field staff because there were too many technical jargons and the field staff was finding it very difficult to even pronounce the copy matter which was there in the Hitasma literature. My God, that was a big flop, but I learned a big lesson. Eventually, Professor Tarun Gupta, he was appointed as a trainer for product managers in Sun Pharma, and I showed him this literature. So this was the highly technical literature I have produced. He looked at the literature. My God, Vivek, उसको कचरे के डब्बे में फेंक दो. These were the actual words he used. He was a very blunt person. He was very candid. उसको कचरे के डब्बे में फेंक दो. This will never work. Then I learned so many things from that literature. Use of good headlines, use of empathy, use of emotions, and most important, making the copy simple. He said, Professor Gupta told me, Vivek, your copy should be so simple that even a 12-year-old boy or girl from school should understand what you are writing, what you have written. It was a big lesson which I learned from a major flop of such a good molecule.
That was very insightful, sir. Thank you. Moving forward, I would like to take this opportunity to ask you, what were the most thrilling moments in your career journey?
Rather than thrilling, may I slightly amend your question and shall tell you about the chilling moment in my life, in my career, in my profession. I will not name the company now, maybe some other time when I meet you one-on-one. But we had recruited a person in Guwahati as a medical representative. His name was Badal Rajkova. For the first year, he was an excellent medical representative, always on target, earning incentives. And I saw one very good quality in this Badal Rajkova. It was his leadership quality. I was impressed. And within a year and a half, he was promoted as the first line manager. After his promotion, for the first 6 months, he worked very well, extremely well he worked. And I was happy, oh Ray, what a selection I have made. But after that, his performance started deteriorating. He was very irregular in the field. His regional manager at that time was based at Calcutta and used to come all the way from Calcutta to Guwahati because at that time you could not have a regional manager in Guwahati. Then he said, I think your Badal is a gone case. I think he has joined some terrorist organization. Then one day he called me up and said, Vivek sir, I have information that Badal Rajkua has assaulted his medical representative. I was stunned. I immediately spoke to the personal manager. The personal manager summoned him telegraphically. He did not come. Second telegram went. He did not come. A registered AD letter was sent. He did not come. And both I and the regional manager at Calcutta recommended his termination. And the personal manager finally terminated his services. To fill up that vacancy, I had to go to Guwahati. I reached Guwahati on a Wednesday. I interviewed the candidates for 2 days and selected one person. Then on Friday, I took him around the stockists and some of the retailers, and then told him that you'll have to come to Ahmedabad for a training program. Our people will, our training department will tell you, or training manager will tell you when to come. And next day, I was prepared to leave for Ahmedabad. Saturday morning, I got up, had my breakfast, and at 8 o'clock, I could hear sirens around the entire hotel. I was staying in Hotel London. I peeped out of the window to see what's happening. And there were two military jeeps and men in military fatigues carrying stun guns and coming towards the hotel. And I thought, this is, I think some VIP must be staying here and they must be his bodyguards. But within a minute or so, there were loud knocks on my door. And I opened the door, and suddenly two people came in and showed me the shotgun. I thought it was a case of mistaken identity. I told him, I think you're not looking, I'm not the person for whom you're looking. No, no, no. We are exactly looking for you. Raj Khova is working with you, isn't it? I said, yes. And you have terminated him? Yes. You have to revoke his termination later. Otherwise, we are going to shoot you and you will not go back to Ahmedabad. Your dead body will be going back to Ahmedabad. I did not know what to say. Suddenly, the leader came and he introduced himself as Brigadier Decca. Then they introduced me to Brigadier Decca, self-styled, what you call a brigadier, self-styled Brigadier Decca. I told, see, this is the case, and he has not been reporting. Brigadier Decca fortunately spoke very good English. And Vivek, nothing doing. You have to revoke his termination letter immediately. Otherwise, we'll shoot you. And one of the persons who was accompanying him, he went to the window and fired 2 or 3 bullets in the air to scare me. Just momentarily, I got scared. But fortunately, my training during the NCC when I was in college helped me. One of the training they give was to be psychologically strong. And there was even a training, suppose you are captured as a prisoner of war, how will you behave with the enemy? And the training they gave me, don't panic. First thing is, don't panic. Speak to them, behave with them in a very friendly manner. I suddenly recalled what they taught me in the NCC, and I said, Brigadier Sahab, abhi chai pee lete hain. Do you think I've come here to drink a cup of tea with you? उनके हाथ पैर बांध दो. Fortunately, they didn't tie my legs, they tied my hands. Now, the letter has to be revoked immediately. Then there was a silence for about 45 minutes. I didn't know what to do. Then he said, then I requested, Brigadier Sahab, can you please untie my hands? He untied my hands, and then I said, this is the case, and we have already appointed a new person. So we cannot take Rajkova back. Again, two more bullets in the air. Your body is going to Ahmedabad. That is pakka. Again, silence. It was around 1:30. I had missed my flight because the flight was to be at 3:30. Then I said, Brigadier Sahab, मुझे भूख लगी है, आपकी भी शायद भूख लगी होगी. Can we have lunch in the restaurant? He readily agreed. He went to the restaurant, and you know what? He footed the bill. He said, "You are my guest. I'll foot the bill." After lunch, we came up, and then I told him, Brigadier Sahab, aisa hai. I'm only a marketing and sales person, and recruiting somebody, giving the appointment letter is not in my hands. That is done by the personnel department. So I'll have to talk to the personnel department. Immediately contact the personnel department. ब्रिगेड साहब, आज तो शनिवार है, अभी तो 3:30-4 बज गए हैं, ऑफिस तो बंद हो गया. Don't worry, Brigadier Sahab, the moment I go to Ahmedabad, I'll revoke his letter. Raj Khova was his name. You're trying to escape without a solution. Brigadier, शांत रहो. Vivek, you are not going to Ahmedabad. You are going to be my guest for the next 48 hours. Today is Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday. You are going to be our guest. 2 buddies are there with 10 guns outside to keep a watch on you so that you don't escape. That was the moment which, made me a little fearful. But as I said, my training in the NCC really helped me to become mentally strong. And I also prayed to God, Lord Ganesh, my Ishtadevata, and I kept on praying. Okay, he said before leaving, 10:30 a.m., I will be back in this hotel, and you give a call to your head office. And sharp at 10:30 on Monday, he came. I was worried because my children, my wife, they knew that I was to come back on Saturday. I didn't come back on Saturday. I didn't come back on Sunday. I was wondering what has happened to them. And I was very anxious to speak to them, but they had cut off my outdoor telephone lines. The hotel was strictly instructed, उनको बाहर कहीं phone करने नहीं देना. And those poor hotel people, they have to fight and they have to survive these kind of people. 10:30 he came. I spoke to the personnel manager. I spoke to him in Gujarati, and then said, I think you send a fax immediately, revoking his letter on the company letterhead. And after the fax was received, I was set free. But that was 2 days. I did not know whether I will live or I will go back to Ahmedabad. Sometimes I was trying to relive a situation where I would be, seen in the newspapers, Vivek Hattangadi, the hero of Guwahati, coming back to Ahmedabad in a coffin. So these are the kind of thoughts I had. अरे मर जाएगा तो क्या हो गया? मेरा photo तो paper में आएगा. So these were the little things I said to myself to keep myself alive and keep to some entertainment for myself.
That must have been a very scary experience for you, though.
It was a terrible experience, but more than me, it was a terrible experience for my family.
Yes, so it's understandable. Okay, sir. So we move on to the next question. That is, you have led so many spectacular brands as of now and have also managed to author as many as 7 books on pharma management. I really wanted to know, where did your inspiration came from?
My inspiration came from my students. My first book, What the Pharma CEO Wants from the Brand Manager, was because of inspiration from a student of mine, a mentee of mine. I had gone to Kathmandu to conduct a brand managers program, and a young girl of around 21 or 22, someone of your age, very, very intelligent, like you only, and very curious to learn. She kept on asking me many questions, not only during the program, but even after the program ended. She used to send me emails. So this is the difficulty I have. Please help me. This is the difficulty I have. And very often, her questions were so tough. I did not have answers. I had to rush to the library. I was an active member of the British Library. I had to rush to the British Library. And those days, online was not very. I mean, you could not get that kind of information as you get today on online. So books and libraries, they were the only source of good information. And then one day she said, "So the replies you're giving me are really good. Why don't you write a book on pharma brand management? There is no book on pharma brand management. Why don't you write?" And that was my inspiration. Then there is another story, not exactly a story, but a real fact. I had another mentee called Shreya Gowde from Mumbai, a brilliant girl, and I always saw her that she is going to be the future CEO. She was another girl who inspired me to write one more book. And that book was not only for the pharma industry, but it was for the entire uh, what you call the entire all the across the industries. And that was, how a middle level manager he could become a CEO. Shreya Gowde was my inspiration. So most of the books, my students, my mentees, they are my inspirations. And of course, my two gurus, Professor Chitta Mitra and Professor Tarun Gupta. But I would give 80% of the credit to my students because whenever I interacted with them, the curiosity, the kind of questions they asked, I didn't have ready-made answers. I had to rush to the British Library. I had to rush through books. And today, of course, I also rush through the internet to get the correct answers for them. But I would say that my students or my mentees are my real inspiration.
That is so kind of you, sir. And you are an inspiration for all of us.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now can you please give your 2 cents for the people in our audience who might be interested in making a career in this industry, the brand and product management?
My small piece of advice to them: be a perpetual learner. Be a perpetual learner. Make books your best friends. Today, I am what I am because of my gurus and my mentees, also, my true gurus. But I also have a big collection of books. I would say more than 700. And, during every trip, I used to purchase one book. And that book, I used to read at the airport, in the hotel. And I made it a point that during every tour, I should complete at least one book. And it is those books, the students, and my two gurus who really made me what I am today. But my suggestion to all of them: read books, make books your best friends. And at the same time, if you want to be in the brand management, be prepared for hard work, not only mentally, but even physically. 12 to 15 days in the field for a brand manager is a must if you want to become a very strong brand manager.
Thank you, sir,
So,
for your valuable advice.
books and field, they are the two best teachers.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. This advice is going to benefit so many people.
Let's hope so, because today, unfortunately, many of them, they are reluctant to go to the field. I'd like to tell you something about another big company. Have you heard about Hindustan Unilever, HUL?
Yes, sir.
They recruit the management graduates from top B schools, from IIM Calcutta, from IIM Ahmedabad, from IIM uh, Lucknow, and maybe sometimes even from XLRI. But before they are sent into the head office to work, it is mandatory for them to be in the field, work in the small villages of Bihar, Kerala, Maharashtra, and for 3 years they have to work just like an ordinary salesman. And that is why most of the people who work in uh, Hindustan Unilever, they emerge as top leaders, and their executives are in demand for CEO positions.
Yes, sir.
So
That
field is
yes,
your best teacher, books are your best teachers.
very insightful, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Once again, thank you for sharing some time from your busy schedule and being a part of our series. I'm sure
Yeah,
everyone
one
has.
of thing I forget, from where you can learn,
Sure, sir. Please.
from the online sessions of Pharma State Academy. My God, we have a wide array of people who come and speak on Pharma State Academy. And I would say that Pharma State Academy is also a very, very good platform for learners, especially in the pharma brand management, pharma sales management.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. And for everyone who is watching, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Reach out if you have any suggestions for future episodes by connecting with us on LinkedIn and other social media channels at Humans of Pharma or by emailing us at humansoffpharma@pharmastate.com. Thank you. Until the next time, bye.